The lights inside the theater dimmed just enough to turn every whisper into a held breath. The audience didn't know it yet, but they were about to witness a moment that would be replayed across the world again and again. Cameras glided silently across the stage, catching nervous smiles, trembling hands, and eyes filled with hope. Simon Cowell leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, wearing the expression he often had when he thought he already knew what was coming. He had seen thousands of singers, duets, siblings, emotional backstories. Very few still surprised him. That night, he believed this would be just another performance. He was wrong. Backstage, two Filipino siblings stood hand in hand. The younger one kept whispering the opening lyrics under their breath, not because they had forgotten them, but because saying the words out loud made the fear easier to manage. The older sibling squeezed their hand gently, a silent promise that no matter what happened on that stage, they would face it together. They had done this their entire lives. Singing in small rooms, singing during blackouts, singing when the rain leaked through their roof, singing when the world outside felt too heavy. Their journey had not begun with bright lights or roaring crowds. It began in a small neighborhood where music was not a dream, but a comfort. Their parents used to hum old Filipino songs while cooking dinner. Neighbors would gather during evenings, sitting outside with plastic chairs, listening to radios playing love songs and ballads. Music was everywhere, but opportunity was not. The siblings learned early that talent alone didn't change anything unless paired with courage. As children, they would sing at family gatherings. Someone would clap, someone would say they were good. Life would move on. Years passed. School became harder. Money became tighter. Dreams were quietly placed on shelves, taken down only at night when everyone else was asleep. The older sibling worked small jobs to help their family, often coming home exhausted. Yet, when the house grew quiet, they would sit with their younger sibling and sing softly, as if afraid that dreaming too loudly might break something fragile. One evening, a neighbor recorded them singing on a phone and uploaded it online. The video wasn't perfect, the sound was rough, the lighting poor, but something about their voices, the way they blended, the honesty in their expressions, caught attention. Comments began to appear. People shared it. Strangers asked where they were from. Someone wrote that their voices sounded like hope. That single word stayed with them. Months later, when the opportunity to audition arrived, fear nearly won. Traveling was expensive. Failure felt certain. Simon Cowell was known for his brutal honesty. The siblings had watched clips of him stopping singers mid-song, shaking his head, pressing the red buzzer. The thought of disappointing not just themselves, but everyone who believed in them, felt unbearable. Yet they went. Standing on the massive stage for the first time felt unreal. The lights were blinding. The silence before speaking felt endless. When asked their names and where they were from, their voices trembled just slightly. Simon leaned forward, pen in hand, listening but unconvinced. He had heard countless stories. What mattered was what came next. The music began softly, just a piano. The younger sibling started first, voice gentle, almost fragile. It floated through the room like a whisper, steady but vulnerable. Some in the audience leaned in. Simon raised an eyebrow, not impressed yet, but paying attention. Then the older sibling joined in, their voice deeper, grounding the melody. The harmony settled into place naturally, as if it had always existed. Something shifted. The song grew slowly, not rushed, not forced. Each note carried weight. Emotion built quietly, honestly. The siblings sang not to impress, but to express. Their eyes occasionally met, sharing timing, reassurance, love. This was not rehearsed performance energy. This was life poured into sound. Simon stopped tapping his pen. As the chorus arrived, the harmony expanded. The audience felt it before they realized it. A hush spread through the theater, the kind that only comes when everyone senses they are witnessing something rare. One judge's eyes filled with tears. Another leaned forward, hands clasped. Simon's posture changed completely. He was no longer leaning back. He was listening. The younger sibling reached a high note that was clear, controlled, and full of emotion. No strain, no show-off technique, just truth. The older sibling wrapped the harmony around it perfectly, creating a moment that felt suspended in time. For a few seconds, the world outside that theater disappeared. As the song built toward its final section, the siblings closed their eyes. The music swelled. Their voices rose together, powerful but still intimate. It was not loud for the sake of being loud. It was strong because it needed to be. The final note rang out, held steady, then released gently into silence. For a heartbeat, No one moved. Then the theater exploded. The audience leapt to their feet, applause crashing like waves. Cheers echoed from every corner. The siblings stood frozen, hands still clasped, trying to understand what was happening. The younger one's eyes widened. The older one covered their mouth, overwhelmed. Simon Cowell stood up. That alone was shocking. He didn't speak immediately. He looked at the siblings, then out at the audience, then back again. His expression was something few had seen before. Not skepticism, not critique, genuine disbelief mixed with admiration. He finally spoke, his voice calm but clearly moved. He said he had not expected that. He admitted he thought it would be another decent audition. He confessed that within seconds, he realized he was wrong. He told them their harmony was not learned, it was lived. That their connection couldn't be taught. That moments like this were why the show existed. The siblings listened, tears forming, hands trembling now for a different reason. Then Simon paused. He reached for the golden buzzer. Time seemed to slow. The audience gasped. The siblings shook their heads, unable to believe what they were seeing. Simon pressed it. Golden confetti rained down from above, filling the air, coating the stage in light. The younger sibling collapsed into tears. The older one dropped to their knees, overwhelmed. The audience screamed. Judges clapped. Cameras captured every second as the siblings hugged each other, crying, laughing, shaking. Simon smiled, a real smile, and said this was one of those moments people would remember. He said the world needed voices like theirs. Not just for how they sang, but for what they made people feel. Backstage afterward, the siblings could barely speak. Their hands were still shaking. They kept asking if it was real. Staff members hugged them, other contestants congratulated them, phones buzzed non-stop as messages poured in from home. Their parents cried on video calls, barely able to speak through pride and disbelief. Within hours, the performance spread online. Millions watched. Comments flooded in from every country. People wrote that they felt chills. That they cried without knowing why. That they remembered their own siblings. Their own struggles. Their own dreams. Music critics praised their blend. Vocal coaches analyzed their technique. But most viewers didn't talk about technique. They talked about emotion. The story of two siblings from the Philippines who stepped onto a global stage and shook the world became a symbol of hope. Interviews followed. Headlines appeared. Yet through it all, the siblings remained the same. Grateful. Grounded. Still holding hands before stepping into new rooms. Simon Cowell later admitted in interviews that moments like that were rare. That he had been genuinely stunned. That even after all his years, music could still surprise him. And that was perhaps the greatest compliment of all. As the season continued, anticipation grew. People waited eagerly to see what the siblings would do next. Expectations were high, but the siblings didn't chase pressure. They focused on what they had always done. Singing together, telling stories through sound, remembering where they came from. Their golden buzzer performance was no longer just an audition. It became a reminder that talent exists everywhere. That connection matters more than perfection. That sometimes, the most powerful voices come from those who have lived the deepest stories. And on that night, under those lights, two siblings proved that even in a world full of noise, sincerity can still stop time.